Hello friends, welcome again. Now many a times when you're going for an interview, I've heard and seen this advice thrown around, that is, be yourself. In this video, I will talk about why you should not be yourself, and this is a bad advice. Now interview delivery is a skill in itself. Now you may possess multiple skills that require you to do your job at an organization in a perfect manner, and you may be a master in those skills. However, interview delivery may not have anything to do with the skills that you already possess, which are helping you ace in your career. So for you to ace in the interview, you need very specific and special set of skills that are required for you to ace the interview. And hence what you need to do is you need to train yourself to become that person who can ace the interview. Because essentially speaking, it is that training that will make you become the person who gets the job. So in this video, I will talk about what do I mean by becoming the person who gets the job and how do you become that person. Now, one call out before we move forward. In case you find any value from this video, I have to ask for you. One, press the like button as this keeps me motivated. Second, press the subscribe button along with the bell icon so you get notified as soon as I put a new content on this channel. On this channel, I post content pertaining to financial and career success for early and mid-career professionals. Now, a stat for you, which is 76% of people who view videos on my channel do not subscribe to my channel, which makes me sad. I want to improve that stat, so help me improve that stat and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, if you want to support me for the videos that I make and unbiased content like this, you can do so using my Patreon page. I will leave the link of my Patreon page in the description of this video. Now let's get rolling back into the video. So number one reason why you should not be yourself when you appear in an interview, rather you should be the person who gets hired, is company's expectation. Because company expects you to come as a brick that will come in the wall and fit in the wall and make the wall stronger, as against being the wall in itself. So they are looking for someone who already possesses the culture and the values that their organization holds. So you come in and you become a part of the organization and make the organization stronger, as against being an individual who just stands alone. One example I usually share here is for myself, which is I'm a big introvert. I'm a very shy person. I don't make a lot of friends. I don't talk a lot. And when I go to big gatherings as well, I'm just sitting in the corner and just observing. Now, this is not the kind of individual that most of the companies would want to hire. They would want to hire someone who is relatively extroverted, and at least extroverted in the workplace. So he or she can mingle, can collaborate, can create some bond, as against someone who is just introverted, comes, sits in their shop, does the work and leaves. So you might have all the best skills, but if you don't conform to the culture that the organization is looking for, then you're not the right person. So I am, technically speaking, slightly different person when I'm at workplace, just because I have to behave in that way. I have to express myself differently at workplace as against how I am in my natural settings. That is why I say that I cannot just be myself in an interview in the workplace. I have to be the individual that will help me succeed in that workplace. And that is what I do. And that is why I propose and suggest that when you go in the interview as well, you become the person that they are looking for. That is, if you really want that job. In case you don't want that job and you don't want to be that person, because it will just take a lot of energy from you to become that person, and it is kind of poles apart from what you are, what the organization is looking for. Be my guest and just don't apply for the organization. However, if that is an organization which is kind of your dream job, but naturally speaking, your values, your culture is different from what they're looking for, then you have to conform to their way of working in order to succeed in the interview, in order to succeed in the organization. Now, second piece is professionalism. Again, when you get this advice, which is just be yourself, there is a casual element to it. However, when you go in an interview, you need to be careful with regards to the language you use, the dressing you have, and the way you present yourself, because you need to come across as someone who's professional as against someone who's casual. And hence, prepare for what the interviewer is looking for. They're looking for someone who's professional. So when you communicate, the language you use, the dressing you do, it should all come across as someone who is professional. Thirdly speaking, you also need to highlight your skills. You cannot just have casual conversations in the interview and that is it. You also need to come with an agenda in the interview, which is make sure that these are certain skills that the organization is looking for. So you've highlighted them. And how do you make sure that when you come in the interview, you present or talk about those skills and you convince the interviewer that you've demonstrated those skills in past. and you have experience in them and you have mastered them, and you can contribute good value and add value to their company, as against just expecting casual conversation, or maybe just not expecting anything because you are thinking you will be just yourself and will go with the flow. No, you don't go with the flow. You manage the flow. You manage the direction of the interview, because you know what skills they are looking for. You know what your experiences are. You need to marry them and present them to the interviewer so they get impressed and they value your contribution that you've done at past, and believe or are convinced that you are the individual who is the right person for this particular job. Another piece is comparative nature. Everyone else, all other candidates, expect them to be prepared very well, highly professional, coming up all prepared for the interview, have practiced and have developed confidence, have their examples written down, have also rehearsed their examples, what they have to say, how they introduce themselves, what are the questions they will be asking in the interview, how do they present all the skills that the job is looking for, how do they talk about their professional and past experiences. So they've prepared everything. While if you just come up with an advice of I will be myself, then you won't be as prepared as other candidates are. And hence, if you're not as prepared as other candidates are, guess what? You won't get that job, because that other candidate who is more prepared will get the job. It's a competitive world, so make sure you go in prepared, you go in all trained. Lastly, you also need to come across as someone who can adapt to the role, who can adapt to change. Going with the advice, just be yourself, may not convey your willingness to learn and grow and change, because you want to come across as someone who is right for the job. And when they talk about adaptability, changing, or they talk about something which you may not possess, however, you need to show the enthusiasm that you are ready to learn, you are ready to improve and bring that element into you. So even if that is not who you are, you're ready to do it. So let's say if you are an individual who is not good with attention to detail because you are more a big picture person. However, this job requires more attention to detail and you want this job. So if you want this job, you should be ready to say, or you should be ready to tell yourself that I am ready to improve in this area of attention to detail because they need it. In my previous job, maybe it wasn't required much. I was good with just painting the big picture and being more strategic. However, for this particular job that I'm applying, I need to have more attention to detail, and I will develop that. I will build that in myself. I will train myself to become more attentive to details. So now as I head towards the end, let me talk about what will require for you to become that person who aces the interview. Number one is communication skills, because interview is all about communication. You are not performing a project that you are claiming that you can perform or have performed in past. You just need to communicate how you performed a particular task or project in past, or how you can do a similar project or can solve a similar situation or even a different problem in future. How do you go about solving this? All of this is done through communication. So the core skill that you need to master for interview is how do you communicate. Again, for this very purpose, I made a separate video where I talk about the CAR model or the STAR model, which is the context, action, and result, which is a format that you use to communicate your examples that you would be sharing from your past experience. So make sure you master that format. Make sure you master your examples and kind of marry it together and present it in that particular format. I will leave the link to that video here and also in the description of this video. Other than that, make sure you prepare well, which is to go through all the skills that the organization is looking for, go through all the highlights that you've had in your career, put them together and see how you can address each of the skills using those highlights. Also think about the kind of questions you should be expecting from the interview. Things like introduce yourself, any questions you have for me, things like where do you see yourself in 5 years, very typical interview questions. So you make sure you prepare for that as well. I made a separate video where I talk about how you can go about preparing for an interview. I will leave the link of that video here and also in the description of this video. Lastly, and not the least, rather the most important part, which is practice, 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 and practice. As I said, you cannot just casually go in an interview saying, I will be myself. You need to go in the interview all prepared. And for that, what you need to do is practice, practice, and practice. Now, for this very purpose, I also offer one-to-one sessions where you can book a one-to-one session with me and I can train you with regards to any upcoming interview that you have, or even have a mock session with you. In case you want to know what that mock session will look like, you can look or check out the video that I will leave here. Also, a link in the description of this video. You can book that session with me using the link that I will leave in the description of the video. Now, more importantly, what practice does to you is it makes you confident in delivering the interview. Now, of course, you can be confident by just being yourself. However, if you are just yourself, then you don't get hired. So if you want to become the person who gets hired, you also need confidence with that. And that confidence only comes with practice. So again, make sure you practice. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this video was helpful. In case you found value in this video, I'm sure you'll find value in another video where I talk about how you should go about introducing yourself. You can check out that video here. Other than that, another video where I talk about what kind of questions you should be asking as part of the reverse interview questions. You can check out that video here. Thank you.